givingness, the offering of the cosmic self to the joy of its own fulfillment. You are a part of this joy. And we find fulfillment only as this joy passes through us to others. Everything moves in circles. We short-circuit our own good when we refuse to pass it on. This is from Ernest Holmes, and I think that they are amazing words to lay our foundation for life upon. And so I would have loved to have written them, but that was Ernest. At least I can read them and I can make them my own, and so can you. So this month we embark upon, we had Martha Creek last week, and as you know, she rocked the house. Those of you who were here, and she's coming back the next 2 years in a row, made sure I got us on the list, so we're very blessed. But I started out the month with a grand experiment. So anybody here that was here from that 2 weeks ago? Anyone here from 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to make you do anything. I just want to. So, pulling teeth. Okay, so the three things that we were focusing on were to live abundantly in all aspects of our lives, to love abundantly in all ways, and to have abundant joy throughout all of our experiences. And if you were here 2 weeks ago, then I am going to ask you if you remember what we had, the assignment we kind of had. Good. Anybody? Okay, good. All right, we'll talk about it later. So by the very act, the whole, I have the book on the floor, is based on a book called The Go-Giver. And so that's what the series is based on. And so it's giving to life rather than always trying to get from life. So it's a slightly different concept than we might be used to. A lot of people balk when they hear that the secret to an abundant life truly is giving. It is giving. Then, again, a lot of people are nowhere near abundant in their life. So maybe if you're in that state where you don't feel the abundance flowing, maybe you can do something differently. Maybe if a different way of doing it might bring a different result. And I have some words from Ernest Holmes, and I believe that they really sum this all up, because it's very powerful. So just listen to these words. He writes, "Unless the seed is sown, it cannot bear fruit. There must be a planting time for every harvest. He who gives all receives all. Who refuses to give limits the possibility of the greater good returning to him. Love, and you will be loved. Extend joy, and you will become more joyful. The ancient Talmud says, God will doubly guide the already guided. And Jesus, the greatest of the great, said, give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running all over shall man give into your bosom. For with the same measure that ye meter, it shall be measured to you again." So that's from Ernest Holmes. We do not give because God needs us to give. God does not need the gift. This is because the giving, when we do this act of giving of our time, our talents, our treasures, all of who we are, we access and increase and broaden and deepen as the life of the giver. Nor shall we give from the standpoint of duty. The universe refuses to bargain with us. The universe refuses to bargain with us. It's already given us everything that we ever desired. And we hear this all the time, and we're like, well, how come I don't feel it? How come I don't see it? Why isn't it here? But it is. But we haven't opened up to it. We haven't accessed it. The good of God is always present in all of us. And we're so blessed today because we have Sam Brown, who I've known for 20-something years, in the back with his beautiful wife. And Sam was so famous for really reiterating over and over again, God is good. And then Sam always says,
All the time.
all the time. Not some of the time. All of the time. That's it. That's from Sam, one of my great teachers. I'd like to acknowledge you right here and right now. Thank you. And so we go back into that the gift of life can be received in its fullness as we give, only as it flows through us. Are you allowing your good to flow through you? You see? It's wonderful. Everything in the universe is balanced. It balances itself. It's in perfect order. The first law of the universe is divine right order. And everything is in this perfect order. How perfect is the law of God? It always works. Does it never not work? The spiritual laws, the natural laws, the scientific laws, all work together. They work to give us every opportunity. We have every opportunity to join and into the infinite giver. We are part of all that is. And the great giver of the universe, God itself, is always giving of itself in every way, shape, and manner possible. But we have to be aware. We have to wake up a little bit. Just that little bit of willingness allows that good to flood, not flow. We want to flood. I'm sick of the flow. I don't want any more trickling. I want a flood of good, okay? So it's flooding. Last week we talked about, 2 weeks ago, the 4 stages of spiritual unfoldment. And this is part of the talk. This is our spiritual unfoldment. And see where you lie. You might lie in all 4. Usually we do. The first stage is why me? And that's when we are in blame and victim consciousness. The second is by me, which is we are metaphysicians. And this is a vital phase of our growth. This is where we do spiritual mind treatment. This is where we are treating or praying to manifest something. So this is in the getting, and that's fine. And through me, the third stage is the mystic. And the mystic is where we dwell in the divine presence, where the Spirit flows through us, and we can feel the effortlessness of it flowing through us, expresses through us. And the fourth is we might get a glimmer of once in a while, is as me. And that's the master, and it's really the combination of the by me and the through me. And like I said, we go in and out of all of those phases of spiritual development. But we are here to stay, and just by the fact that you are sitting in these chairs means that you're finished with that first one, or you're on your way to finish with it. Every once in a while you might slip back into it, but quickly align with the through me. Spirit moves through me. Life doesn't happen to me, right? We co-create with that which is already present. We are powerful beings. And remember, we discussed being a giver 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to refresh your memory for those who were here. We discussed being a giver. And that's where we allow Spirit to move through us as us. And wasn't our opening song perfect? One of my favorite songs, Use Me. Use me, oh God. Just a beautiful song. If you ever hear that song again, written by Ricky Byers Beckwith, and just take in those words, use me, oh God. You will find the most amazing things take place in your life. They might not be what you thought they would be. Something better, something bigger, something more powerful. Also, we had an assignment, for those of you that were here and don't remember, but I'm sure that you did it, because it was that paying it forward. Remember? Where one person paid it forward for 3 people, reminding everybody we can still do it, paying it forward for 3 people, and then telling those 3 people, if you know, we're in that kind of setting, if we're not going through the toll booth, that going through the toll booth, and I can stop the car, we didn't you. But anyway, you understand, you tell them, you pass it forward now to 3 other people. So we keep the giving, the goodness going. Just keep it going. Random acts of kindness. It's right in with that whole beautiful movement that was started by a 7th grader, as I said 2 weeks ago. So I also told you that we would spend the rest of this month, so that's this week and next week, and then we have Reverend Patty on October 5th, and then we'll continue it. We're going to get to the end of the series on the second Sunday of October. So we're looking at that book, The Go-Giver, and the 5 stratospheric successes that come from using 5 steps. There's 5 steps to this. This book is really about success in business, but we're using it in the context of success in our lives, in every area of our lives, in health, in relationships, in wealth, in every area, our careers, every area of our lives, just being. 2 laws we're going to go over today, and they can be encapsulated with the question, which is the title of this morning's talk. What do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table of life? What are you giving in the table of life? Or are you just taking from the table of life? Or are you replenishing and giving? So we're going to talk about it a bit, and I'll spell it out in the words of the Go-Giver. Great fortunes in the world have been created by men and women, listen to this, who had a greater passion for what they were giving, their products, their services, their ideas, than for what they were getting. It's in the giving that we receive. It truly is. A lot of people don't operate like this. In fact, they operate with the mindset that says to the fireplace, this is from the book, I love this, first give me some heat, then I'll put on some logs. Or that says, give me interest, then I'll deposit money. That's how we operate, really. And it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. In those instances, in fact, that life doesn't work that way, it becomes obvious to us. It becomes obvious, even ridiculous, of the way that we're thinking. Of course, you need to give the wood in order to get the heat. You need to deposit the check in order to receive the interest. But when it comes to living the abundant life, which we all want to live, I am sure, or letting God live and move and have His very being in and through and as us, we forget. We forget, and we tune into our favorite internal radio station. And if you were here 2 weeks ago, you probably don't remember this either. This is where we tune into WIIFM.
What's in it for me?
Oh, hallelujah! They listen. What's in it for me? If I had chocolate, I would throw it at you. I would hand it to you. What's in it for me? Do we not sometimes operate that way? I'll do all this, but, you know, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? So the first law of stratospheric success, according to the Go-Giver, is your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. It's like for us that have read the Wallace Wattles book. Give more in value than in payment. And if you want to write that down, I'm going to reword that a little bit. And I'm going to reword it this way. Because spiritually, I found in that quote, your true worth isn't dependent on anything. Do you agree?
Yes. Right.
Your true worth is not dependent on anything. You are inherently worthy of all good simply by the birthright of who you are. And you know you are a child of the divine, expressing individually. So here's the first law of stratospheric success, according to me. With my apologies to Bob Berg and to John David Mann, who authored the book. This is it. Your true ability to create an abundant life is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Your true ability, really. If you talk to anyone that is a huge success in any area of life, they will usually you'll feel their philanthropic, their giving nature. They usually give. And in the giving, the abundance comes back tenfold, 100-fold. So the point isn't to have people pay more to give, to get more. It's not that at all. You give, why? Why do you think you give? Because it's your divine nature. It's rhetorical. It's your divine nature to give. Isn't the divine nature of God to give? It creates all that is, was, and ever shall be, and it's always giving of itself. So if we are then a creation of the infinite good of God, then within us is that spark of givingness, and we are aligned with our true selves when we do that, when we give of ourselves in any way, shape, or form. So the go-giver used a restaurant. Marianne's like, Marianne, here? Oh yes, this is a food analogy for Marianne. Okay, as an example, it's in the book. And it poses the question, what makes a great restaurant? So the immediate answer is good food, right? But here's the rest. That's only a partial part of what makes a good restaurant, by the way. Here's the rest. A bad restaurant, we'll put them in 3 categories, a bad restaurant tries to give enough food and service, both in quantity and quality, to justify the money it's taken from the customer. It's a good restaurant. That's a bad restaurant. That's not a good restaurant, okay? A good restaurant, the next one, okay, strives to give more quantity and quality for the money that it takes in. But a great restaurant strives to defy imagination, and its goal is to provide a higher quality of food and service than any amount of money could possibly pay for. Have you ever gone into a really great restaurant and you don't know why this restaurant is so full while the others are empty and their food is great? There's something in the consciousness of that chef, of the owner, of the chef. I'm going to take, both my sons are chefs. So it's all about the chef who's creating great food from their imagination, their love, their passion. They don't compromise with the quality of the food. This is what makes a great restaurant, and I know you've all experienced it. You know, unless you're English or one of those, you know that your mother or grandmother made great food and you could never copy the recipe, even though you had all the ingredients, because there was a different, deep love going into the food. You could feel the energy in the food. So, but following this law doesn't always mean success. It doesn't mean that your abundance will increase, because we know some great restaurants that seem not to be abundant. They kind of go out of business. So according to the go-giver, the first law determines your potential for success. But its second law, it is the second law that determines how abundant you actually are. So the second law says this: your income, which we can change to abundance in all different ways, your abundance, let's say that, is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. How many people you serve, how well you serve them. Or put another way, your abundance is directly proportional to how many lives that you touch. How many lives do you touch? And if you want more abundance, find a way to serve many people. It's that simple. It's that simple. We know that the 12-step program is based on giving it away. If you get it, you got to give it away. You got to give. You don't have to give. It's up to you. It's your choice. But if you want that abundance that we're talking about, it also means that there are no limitations on your abundance. It's not limited. You can always give to more and more and more people. There's no limitation on the amount of people that you can give to. Right? The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. Another way to say that might be that everybody can live abundantly because everybody can give. really want to get that point in case you didn't get the gist of this. And it's for me too. It's to remind me to be kinder to people and to be in that flow of being in service and not running away with all the busyness that the brain and the ego might be telling me to do, but to stay centered and to give from that place. It could be small, an act of smile. It could be a smile that brightens up and changes a person's day. You don't know. So I'm going to recap this and the application of it. So the first law, your true ability to create an abundant life is determined by how much you give in value than you take in payment. The second law, your abundance is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So in the book, our hero Joe is learning one day, he's learning one law a day. This is in the book, so I'm going to read it. And in order to continue with the mentor who is teaching him these 5 laws of success, he must implement each law every day. He can't just think about it. He can't just talk about it. He has to apply it. And he has to apply it by the end of each day. You have the same mission, but we're only doing 2 for a whole week. This is what Joe had to do, 5 every day. So how did Joe do it? Well, first, he had no idea, but knowing he had to. So knowing he had to in order to continue being mentored by this person, his ideas just came. His opportunity to practice the first law came when a representative of a potential big client called to say the client wasn't going to use his job's firm anymore because they needed somebody with more international business experience. And Joe was deeply disappointed because he only had until Friday to fulfill these goals, this quarterly sales goal, and he wasn't nearly there. And just as he was about to hang up that phone, he remembered that he kept a stack of his competitors' business cards in his desk. And those people he kept there because they motivated him to do better. Those were the competition. But he decided to pull one out and pass the name on to his client's representative and said, this guy has international experience, maybe he can help. So the first law is your ability to create, and creating an abundant life is determined by how much more you give in value than you get. So he was giving. It was in the giving he was getting. In the giving, that flow, that law of circulation that we talk about, were blocked. If Joe would have been, if he would have been, I'm not giving him my competitors, I'm not going to give that. Think about what that feeling feels like, that competition feeling. It's blocking the good. But by passing along this information, this good, is opening it up so more of God's good can fill Joe. He had no idea how to implement the second law, however, which was to serve more people. But at the end of his meeting that day, he learned of this law. His new mentor's assistant gave him a bag as a gift of gourmet coffee. And so Joe went back to the office and began to brew the coffee, and then proceeded to hand out a cup of coffee to everybody in the office. So there's always a way. There's always a way to give. There's always a way to give. Your abundance is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. Does it come from the heart? Does it come from a place of kindness and love? That is how our hero in the parable implemented those 2 laws. So, how can you this week implement these 2 laws? First of all, you can write them down so that you remember them. That's a great first step. So that is your mission if you choose to just to give, pay forward, pay it forward. How many people can I serve? How many people can I serve? How can I give more than I'm getting? And that is how you become a go-giver, which is the whole theme, is to become a go-giver, not a go-getter, as we were brought up to do. And prove your ability to live, to love, and to laugh abundantly. Give more in value than you take in payment, and serve as many people as you can, and serve them well. And remember, the spirituality that we teach here is about proving these spiritual laws that we talk about. It's about proving them. And so it's a practical spirituality, and the fact that if you don't believe that it works, go out and do it. Try it. It's the only way you're going to find out. So I invite you to be a giver with me this week.
Yeah.
That's how it is.